district, I believe our North Star continues to be wrapped up in our mission and our vision. Our mission statement has been around for years, as far as I know. And right in the mission statement, it says that we want to ensure that our students have a plan, pathway, and passion for their future. Our vision statement that everyone knows is every learner future ready. That was some of the early work that I had the opportunity to explore, having coming here as a superintendent, and very impressed with a lot of programming that was already underway here in our school district. With that being said, we knew that we needed to come up with a plan that will allow us to honor that mission and to get us closer to that vision for every student. As we've mentioned a few times here, we had our first convening in October of 2023, where we brought all of our leaders together to really take a look at our data, reflect on our mission statement and our vision statement, and to hear and learn about different models that were out there that really helped to support the work that was already occurring in our school district. And those were the conversations of how we got started with looking to a model that would embrace college opportunities for our students as well as career opportunities. And you're right, I have a lot of that experience in my background. So for many years, from Texas to Nebraska and now until here, those are the types of things that if you're going to a school district and they're looking to accomplish some goals, I think they're looking for somebody with the experience. And so I was happy to be able to bring that experience with me. But it doesn't matter all the different experiences that you may have in one community or another. What's important is what's going to be right for the community that we're in. And for us right now, our community is Cedar Rapids Community School District. And with that being said, there were almost 100 people in a room that had that opportunity to talk about our next steps. And that's how we got to our next step. Let's create something that is a little bit more systematic than what we were experiencing. Right now, we have plenty of students that go out for job shadows, internships. They're taking advantage of capstone courses like the Student Built House. But those opportunities are not available to all of our students. As reported within our state report card, we see that right now we only have about 7% of our students who have those work-based experiences, even though we're very proud, excited about those opportunities. Every time we hear a student story, our students that graduate with their CNA, we're very proud of that. But we graduate almost 1,000 students every year. And so certainly that number needs to increase. If we look at our students who are earning college credits, we also have a ways to go in order to even just to get up to the state average. So our goal through this process has really been about how do we create a model, and moreover, not just a model, but how do we create a promise that we can hold ourselves accountable to, and that our community can also hold us accountable. We're saying this is what we want for all of our students, and that's what led to our ultimate design of the Portrait of a Graduate. That wasn't a Dr. Grover design. That was a design that came together through many conversations with our staff members, with our task force. We even had our SIAC committee that were weighing in, that they were also providing that type of input. Even when we got down to the school programming that's happening at each of the schools, they decided what those programs were going to be. Because for me, I just want the students to have experiences. And I think we want to figure out how to best leverage the resources that are available in our community so that we can expand those experiences.
And just to be clear, so the district is not cutting or planning to cut any programs or classes to make the pathways happen?
No, we're not planning to reduce offerings. As a matter of fact, we need more offerings. We can't afford to reduce them because that's going right back to the very point that I'm making, that right now we need more opportunities for students to take advantage of. So if we really look at some of our student schedules, we did quite a bit of deep dive into our system, looking at, number one, how many of our ninth grade students were actually being successful in their classes, something parents would be familiar with in terms of failure rates. If we were also taking a look at how many of our students are in study halls, those do not help to equip students with college skills or career opportunities. And so that's the reason why we're realigning our resources. And there will be instances where you may see redefining of a class. And the purpose there is to ensure that when we are designing our courses, that they have a better opportunity for those courses to translate into skills that will be transferable for them to take to college or into the workforce.
You said yesterday that one of the things that you, and looking back on, wanted to change was going away to talk to parents sooner and bringing it to the public sooner. Can you tell me about why that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it probably took me just about 5 minutes just to even try to give you any idea of what this process was like, as well as the model itself. So within the model, you see components of every learner being equipped for college and career ready. And so that means that we have to figure out what courses we offer, when we offer them, in what sequence do we offer them. We want every learner to have some form of a work-based experience. And so having those opportunities to figure out the model, to figure out what are the high skill, high wage, high demand jobs within our area, who are the business partners that we can lean on, what are our current agreements that we have with our higher education institutions, what are they currently offering to us, what are they offering to others. So a lot of research, planning, what type of staffing would actually be required, what type of resources, what type of dollars would be necessary. There's a lot to really think about, to work through, and that's why since October of 2023 up until now, it's been a lot of that planning, and we have been engaging with folks. So members of the task force, they do include parent representatives, they do include business representatives, staff representative. You have all those folks represented throughout those conversations. But as we can see, and this was the time of the year that we were hoping to present it to our community. And I am baffled in some ways in regards to all of the confusion, and that I definitely want us to make sure that we take every opportunity to answer every question, because that was never our intent. For many of us here, the concept of building out a complete model, and we're talking about building out basically across all of our high schools, that's a huge undertaking that we just had to wrap our processes and procedures around, even as a system, before we could even go to families. And as I did explain, and so you're just kind of battling between those different ways of approaching it. Do you go to the community before things are actually a little bit more concrete, or do you wait until you feel like you at least have a pretty good understanding of how this could work? And that was the option that we chose, to try to get as much of this figured out before we went to a large-scale exposure. But in hindsight, we see that because we did not put out information soon enough, even if it was still like in the, I guess, in the vacant stages, maybe that would have been helpful. We thought it might even be more confusing to our families. We also want to figure out what are better mechanisms for our families to receive information. Have we even made that clear? Are we using our newsletters? Are we using direct communication? Are we using mailers? I think all of those would be opportunities to make sure that we reach more parents. But that opportunity is upon us now. Okay? And so we're okay with all of their questions, with all of their concerns. And as a matter of fact, the things that they are questioning whether or not we're going to have transportation, which classes are still going to be offered. May I take a class at a different campus than what is my home attendance area? Those are all the right questions, and we're certainly looking forward to this next phase of work where we're going to have our parent advisory, where they can come in and help us to answer some of those. That's going to give us a better understanding of what our family members value. For us, the good things of what we are hearing is that they see value in this model. They see value in their students being able to get out and learn about the career opportunities. Many family members, they stated, I wish I had this experience when I was in high school. I wish my kid that already graduated had this experience. They see value in their students continue to be able to receive advanced placement courses, and the opportunity that's there to offer even more. So the things that are right and good about this model, what is built on this idea and concept that students are going to graduate with more than a diploma, That part is there, right? And so now just working through the logistics and having our family members come alongside us, because now we're down to the nitty gritty of how it impacts their individual child, their individual student. And that is work that we are encouraged by, and we look forward to doing here in the next weeks with our families.
And you touched on this a little bit. What is your biggest takeaway from the meetings that you've had with parents this week?
Number one, engagement is the new communication. That is not just enough to send out notices or updates. Bringing family members in to engage with us. And one of the biggest pieces there, again, which I am so excited about, to see this many parents show up and to be talking about academics. That's just where we want to be and need to be. But we've used the committee model, I would say, in a lot of instances, but knowing that we can create a space where we engage more families. We are a very diverse community, and again, we're talking about multiple high schools at one time. And so getting the voices of more people, number one, that's going to be very beneficial to us going forward. And then also just really cleaning up some misinformation that was out there, just concerns about classes going away. That was something that, like, we had no idea that people were thinking that, because that was never part of our plan, never part of our discussions. We definitely, again, need to know that we make sure that we align them and how they are delivered across our system. That is important to us. And then just kind of thinking about, I think the other interesting finding was this idea of the options, and how by having options that are different at each campus, and how families reacted to that, whether or not they saw that as a positive to have more options across the district, or they just preferred to have just very specific ones at each of the campuses. And I think we'll learn more about that. And I think they may have some different thoughts on it as they learn more about some of the similarities. Actually, they may be labeled one way, they may have some different components, but there are many of our programs, pathways, that will be some of the same experiences across the campuses.
And I know we've heard a lot from principals, we've heard a lot from associate principals. What's been the response from teachers and I guess staff, I guess, as a whole?
Mm-hmm. Again, I think that all of our staff members, we want the same things. We want our students to graduate and be ready for their next steps. But it's very similar to what we're seeing with our families. I believe that we are engaging our staff members at different times. But when we think about the initial launch, we launched this process with all of our staff members back on March the 1st of this year. We brought all of our high school teachers to give a big overview of the concept, and then we also gave them time to work with their campus principals in their own campuses to learn more about it. And there are different facets of it that we've been working through a committee model as well. And not to mention, yes, we're doing the academies, but we also have other things that are happening in our district as well. And so I will say that as we try to build out a very comprehensive model, that we have a guaranteed viable curriculum and offerings, experiences for all of our students, there are many factors to consider. We're going to go into deeper work in our content areas with our teachers. So it'll be a little bit, again, down to the areas that they teach, and they will have the opportunity to help design or redesign some of the courses. For example, we had about 40 educators that attended a conference on this, and so each school had an opportunity to have a representative. But just think about it, that's 4 or 5 teachers from every school. So there's work to be done to embrace the broader voice of our staff members and to allow for some of that impact. I'm very confident with our leaders. They had the opportunity to kind of talk about their processes through this, that they will be right there with their staff members. They know their staff members very well, and that's where some of that work is now is ready to happen at the campus level between the administrators and also with our academic team here coming out to support them as we continue to refine the process to get us ready. And I just do want to note, I think another point as we think about the model, that it is a phased-in approach. So we're ready, preparing ourselves to launch the Freshman Academy here in August of 2025. So just think about that. We start in October of 2023. and we're ready to launch the freshmen in October of 2025. So there's a considerable amount of time that went into that. And even with that being said, then now we're talking about the next step when our students are sophomores, where they will have the opportunity for that college and career connected class that we will have to offer. So in terms of us being ready, I think there is still quite a bit of time that is available to us to continue to develop the programs.
I think 3 minutes left.
Okay, good.
In hearing from parents, I think a lot of the concerns have been that academies at different high schools might be different. I know Kennedy's are going to be different from Wash and Jefferson. Why not put the same academies at each high school and have them be different?
Yeah, and so as you heard Principal LeMaster state last night, I was kind of sitting in the audience too, listening, so it was great to hear their perspectives. Our schools have traditionally always had a little bit of their own identity. And I believe that that is probably, that was taken into consideration as they selected those. Again, the campus principals and their leadership teams, they were the ones that ultimately landed on what they wanted to offer. So I think that's one factor. They liked that idea of being just a little bit different. I also think that they took into consideration what resources were in close proximity to them, who they already had partnerships with. Last night it was mentioned like Unity Point. They're very close proximity to Washington High School. They saw that as a natural opportunity for them. And so really this idea that they could design specifically for their campus. And also as an organization, we like the idea and concept that we can offer more opportunities by having them just slightly different or just some unique program offerings. Now we just have more opportunities and options for our students that are in our district, and the opportunity to attract students from other districts as well.
I'll ask one more question while we've got some time. What's your message to parents who still have concerns or questions or feel the process is moving too fast?
Number one, just clarifying that we're starting next year with the freshman academy. That is phase one, and that ultimately is going to take us another 4 years to completely roll out all components of this. And just, we do want their input. We have processes in place to receive their input. While we feel like we are 80% there in understanding the major components of it, but the finer details in regards to the philosophy around how students engage in the programming, that's definitely where we want their input, and we are certainly open to really making those final decisions based on their input in regards to how do they feel about students being able to take classes at different high schools. Is that even going to be a possibility for them? If they want us to really consider having all of the specific offerings at each of the schools, I think we're still open to having those conversations. So there's certainly definitely opportunity for us to continue to refine it so that we can make it the best possible program for the students and families of Cedar Rapids.
Do I have time
Real
for one
quick,
more?
real quick. You got a little less than a minute. Keep going, keep going. Dr. Grover.
Sure.
Oh, sure. Oh, sorry.
I guess real
I guess
quick,
they say I'm taking too
we've,
long.
we've got $15 million of grant money to help launch the academies. What's the plan for long-term funding?
Yeah, absolutely. So we continue to evaluate our resources on an annual basis. And the way that we are approaching this model is really looking at our current FTEs and how do we maximize those. We recognize that that is definitely one of the pieces that make the academies work, is having the available resources, working together, collaborating with our business partners, having some foresight into our budget and forecast. We believe that all of those would be factors in long-term sustainability.